contemplate the workings of the inner being. Your eyes are wide open, but are you really seeing?
Hi, Cole.
Hi, Ta. We got a house.
We got a house. Yeah. So,
man, these past 2 weeks we've only had one episode a week, which is like crazy because before that we were doing like one a day.
Yeah. So we've been, our lease is running out where we're staying, and we got a house. We got approved.
Yay!
And it has a waterfall and a pool.
And chickens.
And a chicken coop. We getting country out here in Texas, man.
That's right. The Whitties are going country.
We're going country. Sort of country.
Sort of country-ish.
Was that a banjo? Was that what that was?
No, I'm not really sure. I think I was having a hoedown.
Sound like a hoedown.
Yeehaw! Welcome to Texas.
With your woodland creatures.
Yeah, with my chickens.
Bark, bark, mother. This is the Mentor in the Mirror podcast.
We are Ta. Cole. My name is Cole.
My name is Ta.
So we're going to talk today. Well, I'm going to let you kick it off, Ta, because this is a topic that you've been speaking about more, and I'm going to follow your lead. I'm going to do it from behind, the comments.
I'm going to be done from behind with comments. Does it come with lubricant?
No lubrication.
That word, lubricant.
Or moist.
Can you apply a lubricant to it? I need to be more moist. Can you apply a lubricant?
Did I tell you before my first marriage that I'm not going to name names, but my ex-husband was told to use Vaseline?
Oh, man, listen, that was something. When I used to work at the hospital, people would come in with like sex burns.
Sex burns?
Yeah, because
is that like a rug burn or
Vaseline gets really, really hot. It's
What?
petroleum, and if you have sex with Vaseline, it can get really whack, man. Yeah, it gets hot.
First of all, wouldn't you have to be doing it pretty fast to get that kind of friction? People are just doing it like
people be boinking, man.
Do it like they do on the Discovery Channel.
Boinking.
You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it with Vaseline and get burns on our
camels.
on our
camels. Camel toes, man. Come on your camel toe, bro. Come on, man.
But can you have a naked camel toe?
That's what
I thought you have to have something on to create the camel toe.
Well, it's the camel toe that's showing because the pants are so tight.
Wow.
Yeah.
This went downhill really fast.
Really like slippery slope downhill, man. Welcome back.
We're on a slip and slide covered in Vaseline.
Welcome back to the Todd Cole Sex Channel. Talking about moose knuckles and Vaseline burns on your goodies. No, but seriously, people would come in and they would have these friction. What happened? It would be raw, and I don't know what happened. Did you use any condoms or anything? And well, we used Vaseline, and it happened time and time again.
Son,
Vaseline burns on your goodies from
Vaseline
people
burns.
Must did. And I'm like, were y'all like going for it? Oh yeah, it was long. It was great.
And can we talk about sex today? Actually,
all right.
I mean, we kind of already are.
Let's talk about sex.
Yeah,
baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be.
Let's talk about
I used to get
sex.
so I would feel shame just listening to that song. If it came on the radio in my room, I'd hurry and go over and turn it down.
I was the hip hop purist, so I was like, man, this is corny when it first came out. I was singing in the background.
Just the fact that I remember getting a somatic response in my body. I would feel hearing the word sex. It was like, let's talk about sex. And I was like, oh, I can't hear this. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to hell.
Jeeves.
So
get the sex cream.
Do you say get the sex dream?
Cream.
Oh, cream. Get the Vaseline.
Get the ointment. Get the ointment. Ointment, that's what that word.
Ointment.
Get the ointment.
Oink, oink. So I would actually love to talk a bit, because it's something we've had people ask us to talk about before, is more interpersonal conversations. Intercoursal.
Right. All right. So I guess we're switching the order, so I'll follow you and come from behind.
Well, because one of the things that I hear couples talk about a lot is just, well, communication in general, but also around not being fulfilled in their sex life.
Right.
So let's break down a little bit of, first of all, in relationships, people create an expectation of what a relationship should look like, or a marriage is where I feel like the expectations really get ingrained, because then your family and people's creation of what they believe family or a person, a partner should be doing, would be doing. So from your perspective and from your first marriage and your ideas of marriage, what were some of your ideas of marriage before we were together?
Well, I mean, I didn't have a solid grasp on what marriage was because my parents' marriage was interesting to witness and watch. I learned about what marriage was from watching television, from watching my parents, from watching my aunts and uncles, and just watching people in general. And there was never a really solid idea other than you went to a church, because I was raised as a Catholic. You went to church. You said your vows, to have and to hold till death do us part, and forsaking all others. And it was just this whole idea. It was kind of slavery. It was kind of bondage and prison that you couldn't get out of. You had to be with one person that you were in love with, and then you had to raise kids, and then you fucking died. So the whole sex aspect was your sex was confined to one person. It was their responsibility to provide you with sex, and they were the only person that provided you with sex. You didn't provide yourself with what you wanted or needed outside of that situation. Or if that situation got to a point where the sex wasn't mutual anymore, it was still a service that was rendered by the other person. So it was just this whole painstaking thing of, what if you're attracted to somebody else? It doesn't happen because you forsake all others. So the sexuality in a relationship was confined to, and the responsibility of the other person that you got married to.
Do you remember even being like, did you have any awareness of your parents having sex, or was that something?
Oh yeah, man.
Okay.
One time I can hear the dialogue right now in my head. My bedroom was right next to my parents' bedroom, from the age of, I think it was 12 until I moved out of that joint. I was right next to my parents, and it was just there was one time I woke up when I finally did get some sleep. I woke up and I could hear, and it was just my mother. I didn't hear my father say anything. I didn't hear no breathing. It was just my mother.
Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe it was some third party.
Or maybe it was just her.
Maybe. But my father never left the house after a particular time, so I'm approximating that it was him. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I do know that my parents did have sex. There was, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to raid my father's drawers when he wasn't home, his dresser drawers, and I saw a precarious picture of him and my mom. Yeah.
A picture of them doing it?
Something like
doing
that.
Something.
I'm not going to get into details. I'm not selling anybody down the river, but I was well aware my parents had sex, and my father was a huge fan of pornography. He had a dresser drawer full of VHS tapes that were all pornography. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. My sister walked in on them once. Besides that, I didn't. It wasn't even under my belief that they even did. I mean, in the dialogue growing up was that sex was actually it was like a payment plan, right? Sex was something you did for a partner so that they were happy, so that you could get what you want. It was kind of like, that's the transaction, I want this, I have sex with you because that's what you want, and then we all get what we want, kind of a thing. But as far as the idea that the woman had any enjoyment of sex was not, I think that's partially what created a lot of guilt and shame for me, is because I had developed, due to some assaults on my sexuality and situations in my childhood, it did create a more sexualized experience than other kids, from my perception, of course. And that made it really confusing, because growing up Mormon, you're taught from 8 years old well, you're taught your whole life, but at 8 years old is when you get baptized and you're told that now you know right from wrong. So you're perfect now, you know? And basically it's like, as RuPaul would say, now don't fuck it up, right? So the thing that really messed me up at that point was because a week after I was baptized is when there was some assaults on my sexuality from a relative. And mentally that jacked me up. I wouldn't say the experience itself, like had I not had the conditioning of guilt and shame and the idea that I was going to end up in hell now, I don't know that it would have had such a negative impact on my psychology, like on my neurological development. So through my experience getting into my teens, when I finally did start developing, you know, a sexual life, there was a lot of guilt and shame to it. And then there was the performance aspect where it was like how am I supposed to be if the sex is good? What sounds am I supposed to make? What position should I be in? What things should I say? And I actually felt, you know, even before we were together, I thought I was very empowered in my sexuality, and come to find out that I was really driven by a lot of trauma and drama, and it was still a performance.
Yeah, you know, that performance thing was a big part of what I saw in a lot of women that I interacted with. This performance. You have to look a certain way, you have to sound a certain way, you have to act a certain way.
I mean, I would arch my back to get a certain angle because it would look better, but that was like the most uncomfortable shit in the world.
How do you know it would look better?
Well, from my perception of watching things on TV.
Were you filming it?
No.
I'm making light.
Why are you making light?
I'm making
this
deep of it.
Serious business. So, you know, with couples, with people that we talk to, they'll come to us, and it's really common, I feel, that once people feel safe in the relationship, for me, it's not that relationships get older and people lose their sex. I think that they get comfortable and are no longer in a performance space. They don't have to perform. So when sex has been positioned as a performance versus a connection, then you don't need to perform anymore, right? You bagged the person, like you got them. Your
right.
mission complete.
And then it goes out the window. And that's what happened with my first marriage, man. Like, we got together. I mean, it was before the marriage. We got together and we had this great sex, and it was all this, you know, feedback back and forth. And then when you know, we were friends, it was cool. And then when she got the girlfriend title, things kind of slowed down. And then she started talking about getting married. And at a point we got engaged, and that's when the sex really started to fall off. And when we got married, there was no sex. It was just like, sex will be to make babies, and that's it. And I was like, you know, this is not what I signed up for.
I don't want to have babies, so no sex.
Yeah, I wasn't down to have kids with that situation because I didn't feel safe. There was a lot of mean shit going on with my relationship, and I was like, nope, I'm not having no kids, not in this situation. I'm not staying with somebody forever or roping myself into somebody for forever in my life, and I'm not having sex. Sex is important to me. So
well, and the assignment of sexuality, and this. I mean, I guess I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but maybe this is where, you know, it's a great place to go, is that we make the other person responsible for our sexuality, or when we decide as a couple or otherwise that this is the only place sex is going to happen, only one person is getting what they want out of that scenario. And so one of the things that we started to do some work around was the idea that your sexuality or my sexuality was the other person's responsibility, because our sexual energy is not always in the same place.
Nope.
And, you know, ever since I was little, I knew that, like, let's say I fell terminally ill and I wasn't able to have sex with someone, that I would want them to have their needs fulfilled if I couldn't do it. And I think that's kind of what started to open me to the idea. And with how sick I was, to me, everything came down to what I won't be able to do someday. Because I was, you know, at 26, so sick. I didn't actually perceive that I would be increasing vitality as I got older. So there was a point that you gave back the keys to your sexuality to me, because there was
a shift.
Yeah, well, and we fell into that same thing, even though we've said since the beginning of our marriage that anything is possible, bring it to the table, let's talk about it.
Right, but our marriage from the gate has not been of convention. We've never. I mean, there have been some aspects of the marriage constructs that I had since my childhood that my physical body has attached to marriage. So as soon as I hear marriage, there's certain things that I'm like my brain is looking for. So even with us, it's like, okay, I'm married, so I can't consider sex with other women. I can't consider sex at all outside of the situation, and that you are the person that is exclusive to my sexuality. You've been assigned to my sexuality, and if I'm not pleased, I need to go to you, and if you're not with it, I have to wait. And if I'm not fulfilled, then it's just tough luck. It's too bad. And so this is a space that I was in that I didn't even realize that I was putting myself in, and putting a great amount of pressure on you, because if I came to you, since after all of that we we moved through all of that stuff, and you started to feel more safe with your body during sex, things kind of slid backwards, or not slid backwards, changed.
They changed.
And
that's when all of the trauma stuff started coming up, because I was finally safe enough to access some really old, deep traumas that I never had before, and I had to go into radical consent. I mean, anytime we started to interact, and it certainly wasn't as frequent as it had been before, going from multiple times a week to once every 2 weeks.
Listen, the first year we had sex for 350 days straight.
Yeah.
Just under a year of every day. And it was this wild, ride of all this sex and positions and throwing people everywhere, and it was moist, and it was fucking. Let me stop, because I might knock the table over in here. Anyway, it was all this really what I had been like, yeah, and then
finally,
yeah, and then it got into this place where it kind of fell off, and so I had been in a space where it was like, all right, well, I'll wait. Well, how about now? Well, what do you need for us to get into this sex space? And, and it was like, oh, well, I need these clothes to feel sexy, and I need these underwear, and I need to be in a house with a closet, and I need that, and all these things. And it was just like, okay, let's get this. Nope.
Well, because the truth is, I didn't know what was going on. And so I was trying to rationalize and come up with things, because to me, it was freaking terrifying.
Yeah. And I get it. And still, I made you the gatekeeper to my sex, and sex for you and sex for me is not the same thing, and that's the way it is for every
it never has been for anyone.
Every single couple, every single partnership, anything like that where people have some sort of sexual interaction, the sex is never exactly the same. It's like you tasting a cherry and me tasting a cherry, and it's the same. It's not the same thing.
The lens is still different.
It's still a different lens. You have different experiences, different hormones. You're a woman, I'm a man. all of these things are different. So for me to put my sexuality in your hands is a lot of pressure. And a couple months ago, I was like, I had a big revelation. I'm sitting in the back. We got this Bessel van der Kolk quote in the back that says, as long as you keep secrets and suppress information, you're fundamentally at war with yourself. And I was like, what am I keeping
Did you say fundedly?
Fundamentally at war with yourself. So, and it says that the critical issue is to allow yourself to know what you know. And I was like, what do I know that I'm not bringing to the surface? And I was like, man, my sex and Cole's sex is never going to be the same thing. And I've given Cole the keys to my sexuality, and I've given her all of the say-so over my pleasure, and that includes with her or other people or whatever, or with myself. And I mean, it was to the point where I wouldn't even masturbate or anything, because I'm waiting on you. And it's like, what is this shit? So I came in and I had a conversation with you, and I was like, look, I'm taking the keys back, man. I need to. Can I have my registration, please, and my insurance card? And I was like, and it was a huge opening for you. You cried and you were like, thank you. I feel like there's so much pressure off me. And so,
well, because I was already being hard on myself. Like I wasn't healing fast enough. It felt like I was in a process that I couldn't rush, and I wanted to rush it, and I wanted it to be over, and I wanted it to be different. And, we talk about that with clients all the time, it just being in process. Yeah. And I was really struggling with that, because I love you so much and I love connecting with you. And the thing is, the thing that was such a, like, just jacking me up is because I am attracted to you and I wanted more intimacy and more sex with you, but then I would get in my head about it, and then, you know, we developed these like blocks a little bit, because if I wasn't all in, your body would back down, and then if I perceived that, I'd back down, and so it was just this weird back and forth that got developed.
It was a lot of work, and it was just
not fun.
It was not fun, and I'm into fun. And so, you know, I said, listen, I'd like to explore things, and, you know, however that shows up, whatever that looks like. And, you know, you were on board, and I was like, cool. So, you know, we've always considered ourselves having an open relationship. I'm not interested in polyamory. I'm not interested in being in a relationship with another person. I'd have some amazing, connected sexual interaction, but I'm just not interested in a relationship with anybody else. I'm great where I am. I think our relationship is awesome.
Like, it is awesome.
Like you are undoubtedly the greatest friend, the greatest companion I've ever had in my life. I love waking up next to you, looking at you, touching you, you know, smelling you, cooking with you, laughing with you. That's the shit, man. I love laughing with you.
We do laugh.
And so, I mean, and even when we do have sex, I love interacting with you in that space. And, you know, that's like, you know, hey, you know, I like going for a bike ride with you.
Or Mexican food. I love Mexican food.
You can have Mexican food.
I know.
You can keep it right over there on that side of the table. You can keep, or you can have all the burritos except Con Madre. Anyway, shout out to Con Madre in Austin, Texas,
Austin, yeah. Man. Best burritos in Austin,
best
bro.
Best burritos in Austin, bro. Get you some. It's a food truck on Old Torf Street in a Valero gas station next to a barbershop.
So good.
It's the only burrito
See,
I'll
we
eat.
can agree on a burrito, son.
Yeah,
we can agree on a burrito. Come get this burrito,
but all
son.
Mexican food, bro. No, there's a big no. Stop sign.
But it comes down to that preference thing. And most people conceptually have a hard time even considering their partner interacting with someone else, flirting with someone else, because
they've
the
been
fear.
Programmed. They've been programmed.
Yes, yes, the programming, and there's also the fear element. You know what I mean? And that's something we could dive into on another episode. But for anyone that has been considering these things, we're going to come back to this topic, because I think that we could go really deep into this, and I think I'd like to really unbridle and fully share about our transition of our experiences, because I'll tell you, Taz, since you took the keys back to your sexuality, since we started opening up dialogue and opening up interactions, I feel so much more at ease.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I mean,
there's a lot of conversation that's had to happen. It's not like we just decided this. This is something we have talked about in great detail for 7 years.
Yeah, and you've allowed yourself to consider your sexuality outside of this situation, and the people that you're attracted to, and the considerations that you may have, and latex and boots and all of this stuff.
Why is it the latex and the
tying
boots?
people up?
No,
hey, listen,
you
okay.
always go to that.
Well, hey man, listen.
No, you're
okay,
writing my story. That's your sex shit. Thank you very much.
Oh.
No, that's yours.
Oh,
you are projecting your.
Why I see that rope in the Amazon cart though? I'm saying
it's still a different thing.
Tying people
I know
up.
you want to lump me into that category, really bad.
I'm gonna give you some lumps. These lovely man lumps. Wait. Anyway. So if you are down with the conversation and you want to hear more about this, please shoot us.
If you want to hear more just about sex, intimacy, power dynamics, expansion, what does it look like? What do you want it to look like? Have you even asked yourself the questions about sexuality, sensuality, and are you satisfied where you are? Start considering those things. Shoot us questions on Instagram. Just go to Instagram at Tahkole, TAHKOLE. And we're going to actually dive deeper into this, because I know we touched on a few things, but I want to really take it there and share our full story, how I resolved a lot of my trauma through somatic awareness and through TRE and through psychedelics and plant medicine and all of that stuff, because I think that this is the next evolution of humanity, not just sex positive, but an actual integration of the entire being, the entire person, and really being able to at least consider what freedom looks like to you, what it could look like to you, and what questions to ask yourself. So we're gonna come back with another episode tomorrow. Let's make it about sex this week, bro. Like, can we do an episode every day? You good with
let's
it?
go.
Cool.
I'm all about sex, baby.
Tune in this week. We're gonna dive into one concept a day. And if you want to get onto our inner circle list, you can text optimize to 22999. If you're a CEO, business owner looking to optimize your entire life, sex is part of that.
Yes.
You as a sexual being, it is an energy, it is an exchange, and it is also a representation of some other dynamics that may be happening in your life. So we're going to get into it. So we're going to come back tomorrow. We're back to doing more episodes. We love you so much. And if you loved this episode and you're ready for this sex conversation,
rate, review, subscribe, share with a friend.
And until tomorrow,
be free.